died during a trip to Zanzibar earlier this month, and now her family is demanding answers. Ashlee's final posts on social media were of her celebrating her birthday with giraffes in Tanzania, Africa, and getting engaged to her boyfriend, Joseph McCann. But there's a local report claiming initial investigations determined Ashlee took her own life during the trip after falling out with her fiance just days after he proposed. Joining me now are Ashlee's parents, Harry and Yolanda, and their spouses. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So local authorities in Zanzibar initially said that Ashlee took her own life, but you guys released a statement saying that her death was suspicious. What do you think happened?
We're not too sure what happened. That's what we're trying to find out. I got 2 emails today from the embassy in Zanzibar, and they said the investigation is still ongoing. That they have not determined the cause of death yet at all, and the investigation is still ongoing and still pending right now. So there has nothing official has been released. That's what we're trying to find out. We just want answers.
What was the initial call like when you first learned that your daughter passed away?
The call was shocking, and it was devastating and scary, honestly, because we don't know what's going on, what happened.
What did they relate?
The tragic death of Ashlee Janae Robinson. A life full of promise, cut short too soon. A story that demands answers. Some stories don't just break hearts, they raise questions that refuse to fade. A young woman, a life full of promise, a future still unfolding, then suddenly, silence. The tragic death of Ashlee Janae Robinson shocked those who knew her and left many asking, what really happened? Could this have been prevented? And what can we learn from her story? Early life and background. Ashlee Janae Robinson was a young woman described by friends and family as vibrant, determined, and full of life. She carried a personality that drew people in, warm, expressive, and deeply connected to those she loved. Growing up, Ashlee showed signs of independence and ambition. She had dreams of building a stable life, pursuing opportunities, and creating something meaningful for herself and her family. Those who knew her often said, she was resilient. She cared deeply about the people around her. She wasn't just living, she was trying to grow. Family and relationships. Ashlee came from a family that valued connection and support. She maintained close ties with loved ones, and her presence was an important part of their lives. While not all details of her family structure are public, it is clear that her loss created a deep emotional impact. Ashlee, just 31 years old from Miami, an influencer both on Instagram and TikTok. She just celebrated her 31st birthday and called it Chapter 31. Relationships. Like many young adults, Ashlee navigated personal relationships that shaped her life. Relationships can bring love, comfort, and growth, but sometimes they can also introduce conflict and emotional strain. In cases like Ashlee's, investigators often look closely at personal connections to understand what may have led to the tragedy. There is no public record confirming that she had children, but what is certain is that she was someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone deeply valued. In the days before her death, Ashlee was living her normal routine. There were no clear signs, at least from the outside, that something tragic was about to happen. But as investigators would later piece together events, subtle changes and interactions became important clues. In many cases like this, the warning signs are not always obvious. Sometimes they are. Emotional tension, unresolved disagreements, strained communication. Things that may seem small until they aren't. The incident, what happened? The circumstances surrounding Ashlee's death point to a tragic and violent event. Authorities determined that her death was not accidental. It was a homicide. While specific graphic details are not necessary to understand the gravity of the case, what is known is that there was a confrontation or interaction prior to her death. The situation escalated. It resulted in fatal consequences. Cases like this often involve individuals known to the victim, a pattern seen in many homicide investigations. Ashlee Janae Robinson had a fiancé, Joe McCann. Joe McCann, a financial crypto director who lived a private life. They both traveled to Africa on vacation at Tanzanian. Joe placed a distress call to the police that Ashlee committed suicide in her hotel room. But Ashlee family didn't believe the story because Ashlee can't just end up her life. They demand to know what happened to their beloved daughter. The investigation. Once authorities became aware of the situation, an investigation began immediately. Law enforcement worked to reconstruct the timeline, identify individuals involved, gather physical and digital evidence. Key investigative steps likely included interviewing witnesses, analyzing phone records, reviewing surveillance footage, examining the crime scene. As the investigation progressed, a clearer picture began to form. Suspect and motive. In many cases involving young victims, the suspect is often someone within the victim's circle. This can include acquaintances, friends, romantic partners. While full details of motive may not always be publicly disclosed, common contributing factors in similar cases include emotional conflict, jealousy, control, or possessiveness, unresolved disputes. These factors can build over time, sometimes leading to irreversible outcomes. Community reaction. The news of Ashlee's death sent shockwaves through her community. Friends and family were left devastated. Social media filled with tributes, messages of love, calls for justice. People struggled to understand how someone so full of life could be taken so suddenly. The human cost. 1. A family in grief. Ashlee's loved ones were left to process unimaginable pain. The loss of a child, sibling, or friend is something no one is ever prepared for. 2. A future lost. Ashlee had plans, dreams, goals. All of it ended in a moment. 3. A community searching for answers. Her story became more than just a case. It became a reminder of how fragile life can be. Understanding the bigger issues. Ashlee's story highlights broader concerns seen in many similar cases. If this case makes you think twice, click on the subscribe button. Share this story for a moment. Kindly drop your comments section. Thanks for watching. Turn on the notifications. Stay safe and stay vigilant.